But there's a loophole, okay? And the loophole is that, I'm sorry guys, don't blame me. Maestro did it to you. It wasn't my fault. She wanted to increase the rigor. I said, no, let's build confidence. She put the hammer down. Sorry. 1890, 1891, you have this Madrid Treaty. The French wanted to protect the title of Champagne. The Americans did sign on to the treaty. They signed the damn treaty, but the president never ratified it. Okay, World War II, we have German occupation in France. We have a lot of wineries that are being destroyed. Okay, a lot of wineries lost their vineyards. They had to halt production. A very significant decreased production of champagne coming out of the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, and so forth. At the same time though, going into the 1960s, 1970s, in the United States, we have this winemaking revolution that's happening, right? Wine country, Napa and everything, it's just booming. The production of sparkling wine is booming. What are they calling this sparkling wine? They're calling it champagne, of course. That's what's famous, right? This famous sparkling bubbly from France. California is making it. The French are getting very jealous and they're getting PO'd. Americans are selling and the French don't even have the production to sell. Dialogues go on for at least 2 decades. In the mid-2000s, there is an agreement. So the French would, whatever, decrease taxes, decrease costs, whatever, to make French wine more accessible to the US. If the US agreed to stop using the term champagne. So they said, okay, because it's going to be good business for them. They're going to get some wines from France, highly sought after wine, Bordeaux's and Burgundies, right? Very, very, very prestigious wines, very high in demand. But there's a loophole, okay? And the loophole is that if a sparkling champagne was being produced prior to this mid-2000s, then that's, whatever you call it, that chateau, that house, that product can still hold the name of sparkling champagne from wherever it's from California. No new producers could label their product as champagne. It had to be an existing producer already having champagne on their product. Monday Wine Night Trivia, and honestly, you know what? I don't have too much to whine about today because we had such an awesome weekend. We visited Foreign Affair and Vineland. Awesome tasting at Foreign Affair. They did a past, present, and future event. So we tasted some wines from the past, going all the way back to 2005, 100% 𝗪𝗵𝘁 Cabernet Franc, which was phenomenal. So dense and so focused. It was a nice pleasure. It was a nice treat. And then after that, some of their present wines that they have right now. So they had various tables, and what was nice about it was that each table had some type of a comparison going on of wines that are currently available. So one example was their Chardonnay. So they have an oaked Chardonnay and they have an unoaked Chardonnay, and they had that paired with a nice buttered popcorn. So yeah, beautiful comparison. They also had their Cabernet Sauvignon, which one expression they do in a whiskey barrel, and the other one they do with just regular French American oak. So yeah, so it was very, very nice experience. And then for the future, what they had was they gave us a barrel sample of their Malbec, which is I think it was only 6 months old, and it's going to spend at least anywhere between 14 to 16 months in oak. So that was very nice and ripe and interesting. So it is very intriguing to taste that down the road. And then we went for lunch at Vineland, with, unbelievable, right? So pasta and wild boar was our main, and they did an awesome, I believe it was a monkfish, and it was just so succulent and tender and juicy. Anyways, okay, enough rambling. I want to get down to business here because I'm sure everyone is waiting to find out what the heck the answers were to these questions. And my apologies, it's very likely that this episode is going to be airing not on Monday night because unfortunately we have some other content that we need to push, okay? And it was also, again, it was a jam-packed busy weekend. On Sunday, we had to attend our niece's First Holy Communion, which was an awesome event. So shout out to everyone that put that event together. It was a very memorable day, and congratulations on your First Holy Communion. So Are we ready to get down to business here? I think we are, right? So we are in round 2, week number 2. This is regions, okay? And we have, without further ado, question number 1. Question number 1 deals with Maestro's favorite type of drink, okay? Moscato. I think it was at some point last week we had a National Moscato Day, right? We celebrated with some Moscato. It was beautiful, beautiful day. Okay, so Moscato. Why does Maestro like this guy so much? He's low in alcohol, he's so sweet, and he's got such nice ripe fruit flavors to him. Okay, so again, we know Moscato d'Asti is from Piemonte. It's sweet, it's floral, it's a bubbly wine. Okay, it can have alcohol, which is very low, 5%, residual sugars up to 130 grams per liter. Okay, now this level of sugar is achieved through the addition of unfermented Moscato grape juice / must at the end of fermentation. True or false? And the answer is false. Okay, so congratulations to those of you that chose false. So Moscato d'Asti is a DOCG sparkling wine made from Moscato Bianco grapes, Piemonte. Okay, so what's happening here is the grapes are harvested when they're at their optimal Brix. Okay, and then they're crushed and you go through fermentation. But then the fermentation process is halted by chilling, okay, almost to freezing points, okay, and that way the alcohol level is going to stay at 5.5% ABV because that is the maximum and minimum. That's the maximum and minimum ABV for Moscato d'Asti. You'll see other Moscatos out there at maybe 6%, 7%, but not Moscato d'Asti. In order to have that title, you need to have 5.5% alcohol by volume in that bottle. Okay, and then you have those remaining residual sugars left. Now, 2 awesome expressions of that, actually not 2 awesome expressions, I should say. We have one very good expression that only can be one in this case over here, and that is your Batistiolo Moscato d'Asti from Italy. Okay, why is this guy so good? Why is this guy Maestro's? I think it's her favorite. Moscato d'Asti. It's the ripeness of fruit. Okay, you get the nice floral, you get honeysuckle, you get peach, you get apricots. Okay, it's just so fruit forward, but it has nice acidity. Okay, it's got a nice frizzante to it, and it's not dense, it's not overly sweet, right, because of the frizzante. So it's just a nice balance and very refreshing and so versatile. Okay, whether you're pairing him with seafood, okay, you're pairing him with cheeses, with Munster cheese, or you're pairing him with a dessert, you know, he's very nice to pair, and he's just very refreshing to sip on his own. Now, on the other side, our Canadian partner, you have Moscato. Okay, not Moscato d'Asti, but Moscato. And this is a very different expression of the similar grape. Now, completely different region, completely different climate, different terroir, different rules when it comes to making Moscato. Okay, so in Moscato here, what we have is we have ABV up to about 12%. Okay, and we have residual sugars that are as low as 20%. So this comes in about like an off-dry style and very, very, very floral. Okay, more floral than fruit forward or fruit focused. Okay, so this guy, very nice when chilled, very refreshing. Okay, is not going to have that sweetness that the Moscato d'Asti has, but it's still going to be light and crisp and floral. Okay, so 2 very good buys. The Moscato here from Angel's Gate is very accessible for price point. I think he's about $16 or so. And over in Italy, our Moscato d'Asti Batistiolo is about $18. Okay, so both very accessible wines. If you haven't tried them before, get both of them side by side on the patio right now. It's awesome. I promise you, you're not going to be disappointed. Maybe a little bit of crab salad, you're in heaven. Okay, question number 2. Oh my goodness. Question number 2. Question number 2 has to do with this guy, kind of, right? So maybe we'll talk about this guy now or after the question. We'll do it after the question. Even though I want to take a sip of them, we'll do them after the question. Okay, so question number 2 over here. Some American winemakers, again, these Americans are troublemakers. Some American winemakers can legally use the term champagne for their sparkling wines. Oh boy. This was a tough one. Okay, this was a tough one. can they legally use the term champagne for their sparkling wines? Some of them can. Some of them can. The answer is true, okay? Now, before this guy keeps calling my name, before I go into this, I don't want to go into a huge history lesson about this, but I'm going to give you a little bit of insight what was going on and why the answer is true and where we're at today when it comes to champagne in France and the US, okay? So this goes probably back to the late 1800s, around 1890, 1891, you have this Madrid Treaty, the Treaty of Madrid, and what this was trying to do back in the day was to recognize international brands and to protect them. Okay, now specifically, there were talks around champagne and the usage of the term champagne. So the French wanted to protect the title of champagne because they wanted to keep sacred the quality, okay, of the alcoholic beverage. They wanted to have a monopoly over it, and because they have strict rules in place in terms of how champagne should be made, they didn't want other countries, regions, and so forth to produce a type of wine that did not meet the standards of champagne. Okay, so they wanted to be the only ones in the world to use the term champagne. So you have a bunch of countries here that signed on to the treaty, okay? And the Americans actually did sign on to the treaty, okay? The Americans did sign on to the treaty. But what didn't happen was the treaty was never ratified. The treaty was never ratified by the American president. Okay, so the Senate never gave the approval for it to go to the president for ratification. Simple. So they signed the damn treaty, okay, but the president never ratified it. So where does that leave things? Okay, so coming out of the late 1800s, we're going into the 1900s, we have World War I, we have World War II. Okay, World War II, we have German occupation in France. We have a lot of wineries that are being destroyed. Okay, a lot of wineries lost their vineyards. They had to halt production. Okay, so there was a very significant decreased production of champagne coming out of the 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, and so forth. At the same time, though, going into the 1960s, 1970s, in the United States, we have this winemaking revolution that's happening, right? We have pioneers, 𝗪𝗵𝘁 and so forth. So this like wine country, Napa and everything, it's just booming. And the production of sparkling wine in the US is booming. And what are they calling this sparkling wine? They're calling it champagne, of course, right? Because that's what's famous, right? This famous sparkling bubbly from France, California is making it, okay? And they're calling it champagne, and they can do that. They can do it because the agreement was never ratified, okay? So they can legally do that. Now what's happening is that the French are getting very jealous and they're getting PO'd, right? Because the Americans are monopolizing off of their term for the product which they make. Doesn't matter who makes it better, whatever, but the Americans are selling and the French don't even have the production to sell. Okay, so champagne production is booming, sparkling production is booming, 1970s, and it continues into the 1980s. Okay, at which point we have another attempt to initiate dialogue between the US and France. And I think this is the mid 1980s now that this is happening, 1983-ish, okay? And what you have is there's the International Committee for Champagne, which was put together back, I think, in the 1960s or 1970s, and their role in this is to promote champagne and to ultimately protect the title of champagne, right? So they're very vocal in this, and they want the U.S. to stop using the name champagne, okay, on their sparkling products. And these dialogues go on for at least 2 decades, okay? And it's not until the mid-2000s, okay, the mid-2000s, there is an agreement. So France and the U.S., they agreed to terms, and one of the things that came to terms was they would decrease or or lessen the restrictions on trade of wine between France and the U.S. Okay, so the French would, you know, whatever, decrease taxes, decrease costs, whatever, to make French wine more accessible to the U.S. Okay, if the U.S. agreed to stop using the term champagne. So they said, okay, because it's going to be good business for them, right? They're going to get some wines from France, highly sought after wines, you know, Bordeaux and Burgundies, right? Very, very, very prestigious wines, very high in demand. Anyways, so it's in the U.S.'s economic best interests, you know, to sign on to this agreement. But there's a loophole, okay? And the loophole is that if a sparkling champagne was being produced prior to this mid-2000s, then that's, whatever you call it, that chateau, that house, that product can still hold the name of sparkling champagne from wherever it's from California, okay? No new producers could label their product as champagne. It had to be an existing producer already having champagne on their product. So that's the loophole, okay? So yes, some wineries, producers that were making sparkling wine with the champagne name on it prior to the signing of this agreement in the mid-2000s, they can continue to do so. Now, nowadays, everyone that knows wine, everyone knows champagne, okay? We all know champagne comes from France, right? So you're not gonna have any reputable houses, any reputable producers calling their sparkling champagne, because everyone in the wine world is just gonna laugh at them and not take them seriously. So that has kind of phased itself out just because of reputation and prestige within the wine world, okay? No one's gonna be that silly or that ignorant to do that at this point. Okay, but still though, if you go to California, you're gonna see those cheap $8 champagne, Californian champagne. Okay, you're not gonna see them in any fine restaurants, but you'll see them for $8 or less, maybe $2 or $3 on their shelves. Okay, so that's the little you know, champagne history 101. Without further ado, okay, what's over here? No, I don't have champagne, but I have two good expressions of sparkling. Okay, so the poor man's champagne, right? 𝗪𝗏 de Bourgogne. And this is a nice guy because, so you have some Chardonnay in him, you have some Pinot in him. And again, because he's 𝗪𝗏, he needs to have at least 9 months on the lees, okay, which this guy does. I think he has a little bit more than that. I think this guy actually goes up to over 12 to 14 months on the lees. But he's a vintage, which is nice, right? So spend some time on the bottle, 2016. Okay, this guy is beautiful. For the price point, he's only $25. You can grab him at the LCBO, and he's coming from Cave de Lugny, and he has got nice toasty brioche in him. He's got nice apple, and one of the things that I love about sparklings, I love about champagne, is that well-made ones, is that after you open them, they get better and better and better. Okay, a week after you open them. I like them a week after. Okay, I don't like so much Frizzante because it hides the fruit, it hides the minerality, it hides the complexity and the nuances that are in the wine. Okay, so what I like to do with this guy is crack them open and then just put a cork in it, okay, and put a stopper so that you don't lose any of the acidity quickly, but over time, you know, it escapes. But then you get to maybe sip on him every other day, and you get to see how he evolves and how he develops, right? It's a real treat. There isn't a champagne out there that I prefer straight out of the bottle. Okay, hands down. I like it sitting in the glass. If I have no choice, I'm at an event or something, and I will let that guy sit in the glass, and I'll swirl him around for as long as possible before I have to, you know, sip it and drink it and go on because there's the next course coming or whatever is happening. Okay. Now, our Canadian counterparts, okay, Q, man, this is awesome. So this is called Q de traditional, okay. Both are made with the, you know, the traditional sparkling method, traditional champagne method, as you say. This guy, 3 years, almost 3 years on the lease, okay. That's ridiculous, and he's coming in at $30. Okay, if this was champagne, you'd be paying $70 for it. Beautiful, toasted brioche, almond, apple, just awesome. Okay, both of these guys, any type of seafood is, actually these guys are so versatile. You can do this with chicken, you can do this with shrimp, you can do this with crab. Champagne is just so wonderfully versatile, it's unbelievable. Some champagnes or sparklings that have a higher percentage of Pinot, you can actually pair with beef tenderloin or beef tartare. It's awesome. Okay, so if you haven't tried any of these guys here, $25, $30, pick them up. Cheers. Question number 3, Sangiovese. Sangiovese is back, baby. Love this guy. Okay, Mr. Chianti. I think this question may have stumped a couple. I'm not too sure. Got to look at the results after this. But Chianti Gran Selezione must be made with 100% Sangiovese. 100% Sangiovese, which is estate grown. So we know that Sangiovese is the predominant grape in Chianti. Okay, and 80%. So if we're just talking about regular Chianti, right? For what we know, forget about Gran Selezione, right? To be called Chianti, you need to have 80% Sangiovese. What's making Gran Selezione different from your Chianti Classico, Chianti Classico Reserva? Okay, so these rules were put in place, I think I put here 2014, something like that. Okay, and so what we're looking at here, you need to have 80% of the grapes need to be Sangiovese. Okay, 80% need to be Sangiovese. And the other grapes, well, they're indigenous grapes. But, okay, 100% of the grapes that you're putting in have to be estate grown, which means you cannot source grapes that you do not grow on your estate, which is huge. Okay, that's huge because you're responsible for those grapes. You're responsible for the harvest. You're responsible for how well they ripen. Okay, so they have to be grown on your estate. 100% of the grapes have to be grown on the estate. 80% of them have to be Sangiovese. Then you can do 10% Merlot. You can do 20% Merlot, whatever it is. Okay, but you need to have the minimum of 80%, but 100% of them have to be grown on your estate. Now, what else does Gran Selezione bring with it? You need a minimum of 30 months aging, with 3 months minimum in the bottle. Okay, so that's going to give a lot more body to the wine. It's going to give it a lot more complexity. Also, what Chianti Gran Selezione demands is higher bricks. Okay, I believe Chianti Classico and Reserva is about 24 bricks, and I think this guy comes in about 25 grams per liter for bricks. Okay, so what's this going to do? It's going to give it, higher alcohol. Okay, but it's going to give it more density of fruit, more purity, more focus. Okay, what also another additional layer to increase the quality of what's in the bottle with Gran Selezione, there is a tasting panel. Okay, that the wine has to go through prior to going onto the market to see that if it meets certain standards. Okay, so there's a lot of things that have been put in place here in order to make a higher quality tasting experience for the public. Okay, and now examples of this over here, Mr. Ruffino. Okay, now I'm choosing Ruffino not because maybe he's the best value, but I'm choosing Ruffino because he is accessible in terms of inventory. Okay, so if we go to the LCBO, you can get this Ruffino Gran Selezione. I think it's the Ruffino Ducale Oro for about $50. Okay, and he is solid though. Okay, it's a very reputable producer, very reputable product. You're not going to be disappointed. Okay, now will you be able to find a more complex old world style Gran Selezione for a little bit less? Yeah, maybe you can pay $40 and you can get something a little bit more rustic and a little bit less new world style. But look, you're not going to be disappointed trying this guy. Okay, so nice, dense, nice focused black cherry. You get your herbs, you get your smoke from the French oak. He's really, really, really well done. Okay, coming in at 50 bones. Now, Sangiovese, Gran Selezione in Ontario is not going to happen, right? You have some producers here and there that may experiment with Sangiovese, but they're not doing it on anywhere close to what's happening in Italy. And even when it comes to the expression of the varietal is not going to be even close. It's not going to have that cherry. Okay, it's not going to have the leather. It's not going to have the rosemary. It's not going to have the mushroom and all that good stuff. So what I was doing in my head, I'm thinking about, okay, so what is the most representative thing I've tasted recently, that is available to the public here? So Foreign Affair, okay, Foreign Affair's 𝗪𝗏. The first time I tasted this, I thought of Italy and I thought of Ontario. And it's just like this beautiful intermingling between the two cultures, between the two terroirs, whatever you want to say, okay? You get your nice barnyard funk, but you also get this nice black cherry in it, and you get some herbs in it, and you get some smoke in it. So this kind of took me to, like, it was weird. It was 𝗪𝗏 and Nebbiolo comes together with a little bit of maybe some Baco Noir. It was weird, but this is 100% 𝗪𝗏, okay, with about, I think, 13% of passimento and about maybe 16 months or so in French oak. I think it's just French oak. Yes. I think it's just French oak. Okay, but so 35 bones. Okay, 35 bones. So if you haven't tried these guys, pick them up, a little bit of cured meats or a nice steak Florentine, and you're good to go. Okay, question number 4, and we are going to Burgundy. I wish I could pull out a nice Burgundy that would connect with this question here, but as you'll see, getting them back. Okay, so what are we doing over here with this guy? So what is the top classification of Burgundian wines? So are we looking at Premier Cru? Are we looking at Tête de Cuvée? Are we looking at Grand Cru? Are we looking at Grand Cru Classé 1885? Well, we know a little bit about Grand Cru Classé 1885. We've done some Bordeaux episodes here, so it's C, guys. It's C, Grand Cru. Okay, it is just flat out Grand Cru, and in Burgundy, there's not many of them. Okay, there's only 33. Okay, so you have 33 Grand Crus, and essentially what your Grand Crus are, these are your top, okay, your top vineyards. Then below that you have your Premier Cru, which are still very good vineyards, okay, very good special vineyards within a village, but they're not the top, okay. The top vineyards are your Grand Crus, okay. Now, when it comes to these types of wines, these guys are incredibly hard to get and incredibly pricey. Okay, so over here as an example, I think we have the 𝗪𝗏 Grand Cru. This guy, depending on the market and where you're getting them from, for us, you're looking at no less than $300 a bottle. Okay, which is not accessible, and it's not like you can just go into the LCBO and get a bottle. So, I mean, what's in these bottles? You're going to have very old vines. You're going to have very good use of new oak. Anywhere up 20 months and above in terms of oak aging. What are you going to get in the glass? You're going to get your beetroots. You're going to get your mushroom. You're going to get your forest floor. Maybe a little bit of truffle sometimes. Okay, so very complex, very nuanced. But what can we do at a price point that's accessible, right? So again, from the same producer here, 𝗪𝗟, right? This is their most entry-level Pinot, 100%, okay? I think it's called Bourgogne, so 𝗪𝗟 Pinot Bourgogne. So this is just coming from various villages in Burgundy. Okay, it is 100% Pinot. You're not going to get the complexity and the depth, but it is a Pinot from Burgundy. Okay, he's nice, he's easy drinking. You can pair him with salmon. Again, you're going to get a little bit of beetroots. You're not going to get that focused depth of fruit, and you're not going to get the acidity and the tannins that you're getting in your Grand Cru, obviously. Okay, but it's a nice way to step into Pinot from Burgundy. Okay, and then from there you can work your way up. Now, our counterpart in Canada, Leaning Post. Okay, this guy is exceptionally well made, and maybe if he was coming from a different region in the world, he'd have a higher price points. Okay, so but coming from Niagara Escarpment, $50, $55. Okay, I think this guy here is from the 𝗪𝗪 vineyard. Okay, so single vineyard Pinot. I think he does about 20 months in French oak. Okay, very, very nice earthiness to this wine. Okay, nice beetroots, a little bit of like a cran cherry happening to them. You get your earth and you get your mushrooms. Yeah, very, very focused. Nice acidity, good integration of oak. I think a nice opportunity would be, a nice comparison, nice experiment would be to take maybe the 𝗪𝗏 Bourgogne and compare him with a Leaning Post Pinot. Leaning Post has some more accessible Pinots at about $25. I think it's called the 50. Okay, and it comes through LCBO vintages once in a while. So $25 versus $28. Give them a shot, side by side, pair with salmon, and good to go. Question number 5. Damn, these French, man, these French and their words and their pronunciation, it's getting me all tongue-tied and twisted. Okay, so 𝗪𝗶·𝗵𝘁 and 𝗪𝗶·ｈ𝗲𝗄, nailed it, are both areas famous for their Chardonnays. True or false? Well, we know Chardonnay is popular in France, but where in France, right? Burgundy. Okay, Burgundy. Not these guys. No, so 𝗪𝗶, okay, 𝗪𝗶·𝗵𝘁 is made from 100% Sauvignon Blanc. Okay, and at maturity, these grapes are coated with a slight gray bloom or film. Okay, kind of looks like the color of smoke, which also explains why some of the 𝗪𝗆 wine growers talk of white smoke. Okay, so the appearance of the grapes. But a second characteristic of these grapes has to do with their bouquet. Okay, they have a smoky bouquet. It's kind of like a gunflint. Okay, and that's picked up by the terroir of the vineyards, specifically the vineyards of Puy-sur-Loire. Okay, so Puy-sur-Loire, 𝗪𝗶·𝗵𝘁 in the Loire is known, is world renowned for having this bouquet of this smoky gunflint scent in their wines. Some winemakers will impart some type of oak aging to their Sauvignon Blanc, okay, and some will just do 100% Sauvignon Blanc on oak stainless steel, okay, but it's the terroir that brings this smokiness, this minerality, gunflint, whatever you want to refer to it as. It's the terroir that's putting that into the wine. So very unique, very specific. So that's one of the bangers. If you're tasting, if you're doing a blind tasting and you're trying to discern what's in your glass and you're dealing with whites, okay, so trying to pick out that gunflint, that smoky minerality. Sometimes it comes off a wet stone maybe, but you'll pick up on that smoke. Yeah, so good expressions. I think this guy over here is 𝗪𝗏. Oof, I can't remember the one I put up here right now. I think I just picked this guy up today actually. But yeah, so that's what with this guy here is about $30 LCBO. Okay, very reputable producer, and again, you're going to get a little bit. You're going to get a little bit of that flintiness. Okay, in this wine. But he's a good entry level, 𝗪𝗶·𝗵𝘁. So again, $30, not too bad in terms of price points. Now comparing him to something from Canada, I love this guy from Angels Gates. Okay, we're calling him Fumé Blanc. Okay, but he is 100% Sauvignon Blanc. And now our terroir here does not give that that smoky flintiness naturally like you have coming from the Loire in France. Okay, so we have to be a little bit creative here. The winemaker has to do some magic. So a little bit of oak, okay, a little bit of French oak on this guy. Whether they're using reused barrels or so forth, but they're picking up on some smoky flavors from the French oak into the wine, and then you get this nice smokiness. Okay, so it's beautiful. You get your nice fresh cut grass. You get your gooseberry. Little tropical lemon, okay, and then you get that nice smokiness. And then there's also a nice texture to this Angel's Gate because of that time spent in malolactic fermentation in the French oak. Okay, and price point crazy, $15-16, something like that. Okay, ridiculous. Okay, there's no excuse why everyone can't try one of these guys. Well, this was a true whiny Monday night trivia, I think, because unfortunately we didn't have any 100% correct responses tonight. Okay, I think our closest guy was, I think I can do shout out, right? Michael Marino, 4 out of 5 on this one. Kind of said in the beginning you need 5 out of 5 to get that point, you know, but then again I said also that I'd be posting these on Monday night. Obviously that didn't happen. I'm really hoping that this is going to be up by Wednesday. Okay, but again, thanks everybody for your effort, and apologies again for the delay. So hopefully that won't happen again. But again, you know, thanks for doing your homework, and thanks for participating. So to soothe to soothe your sores, okay, I will cheers to you and Maestro. Again, maybe next week we don't go as hard, you know, we give him a fighting shot, but we'll see. But that's, you know, that's how we learn though, right? We learn through our failures, right? We learn through our mistakes, and it's fun that way. So, oh my God, he smells so good. He smells so good. So much better than when I first opened it. Okay, so everybody, again, thanks for playing along, and cheers to Value in a Glass. See you in about 5 minutes.